Welcome to today's edition of Politics and Religion. I'm Jim Stiglman. Irvin Baxter should be joining us shortly from Israel, where he's on the Politics and Religion, or Endtime Ministries Prophecy Tour 2013, the fall tour. And I'm sure that when he gets in, he'll tell us all about the first ever Jerusalem Prophecy Conference that we held this past Saturday evening in Jerusalem. I heard that the turnout was pretty well received by quite a few Jewish people, and that the crowd was basically Jewish outside of some that were there from the tour group. So that's excited, and we do want to hear from Irvin about that. So I'm just going to let him tell you, because I'm sure with his firsthand experience, there'll be a lot more excitement and a lot more information that he can give you than I can. Like I said, I'm Jim Stiglman, sitting in for Irvin, and he should be joining us shortly from Jerusalem. He probably forgot about the time change this weekend, or maybe he just got caught up with some prophetic things over there. However, we will discuss different things concerning Bible prophecy while we wait on him to give us a call in. And if you listen to the tease, an article appeared today in the Jerusalem Post, and it's titled, "Netanyahu, Palestinian Denial of Jews' Right to Statehood is the Core of the Conflict." Unless you've been asleep the last few months, you know that there's a peace treaty that they're trying to get signed between the Palestinian Authority and the Jewish people. John Kerry has been at the forefront of that, and he's listing later in 2014, like around April or May, to have a peace treaty that the Jews and the Arabs can sign and live peacefully together. However, though, it seems like you get just as many negative articles out there in the press as you do positive articles out there in the press concerning what's going on with these peace processes. And of course, sides take pot shots at each other as they're wont to do while they are discussing the terms of these different agreements and different terms of the agreements that they're trying to come across. But however, this article from the Jerusalem Post, it centers around the Balfour Declaration, which we talked a little bit about on Open Line on Friday. And the Palestinian Authority calls it a crime against humanity, and calls on Britain to apologize for it. Now, this is about a 96-year-old treaty, our 96-year-old declaration that was written by British Foreign Secretary Arthur James Balfour to Baron Rothschild some 96 years ago, and it called for the establishment in Palestine, which is what it was called at that time, of a national home for the Jewish people. And so the Palestinian Authority are calling this a crime against humanity. I don't know where their thinking's coming on that particular phrase. However, it states in that declaration that there should be a home for the Jewish people in Palestine or in the Middle East. And of course, many of the headlines and many of the leaders of the Arab world, of the Palestinian Authority, say that Israel should be obliterated. They should no longer exist as a nation. Many negative things like that come across as being the view of those that oppose Israel in the Middle East. Now, the Balfour Declaration, as I said, was a letter that said the Jewish people had a right to a homeland or a national home right there in the Middle East. And of course, with those people that want to get rid of Israel, there's no way that they want this to come to pass. Therefore, they're decrying against this Balfour Declaration. Now, let's read a little bit of this article now. That declaration recognized the right of the Jewish people to its own homeland in Israel, Netanyahu said on Sunday at the start of the weekly cabinet meeting. There is no doubt that the international recognition of the Jewish people's right to its own state and its historic homeland is important. The refusal to recognize us is the root of this conflict. So it seems like Netanyahu's stating the obvious here again, that the root of the conflict over there in the Middle East between the Arabs or the Palestinian Authority and the Jewish people is that there is a refusal to let Israel exist in its homeland. and recognize them as a state. Therefore, that becomes the conflict. I'm sure the Arab side of this story will be just the opposite. But Netanyahu goes on to say that in order for there to be peace between Israel and the Palestinians, they need to recognize the Jewish people's right to a state in its homeland. This means that in a final status agreement, they will need to relinquish their so-called right of return and other claims on Israel, Netanyahu added. So again, I thought it was interesting that this article popped up in the Jerusalem Post yesterday, and it was on the Balfour Declaration, which we talked about a little bit on Friday. And again, according to Benjamin Netanyahu, him speaking this to his cabinet meeting before the weekly cabinet meeting yesterday, that it's the root of all the conflict and the root of all the problems in the Middle East is that the Palestinian Authority would not recognize Israel to a right to its homeland. Now, Irvin is with us currently. He is in Jerusalem for the Prophecy Tour of Politics and Religion, Endtime Ministries 2013, the Fall Prophecy Tour. And Irvin is with us. And I'm sure, Irvin, you've had a great weekend, the first ever prophecy conference in Israel, and it was a smashing success from what I hear. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, I will, and first of all, let me apologize. Right now, we're having some technical difficulties, so I'm actually coming by way of my cell phone right now, Jim. But the prophecy was a smashing success. We launched our college with over 20 people enrolling in the college last Saturday night. It was just a tremendous time. It's stirring all kinds of interest around Israel. People are contacting us. People saw the brochure. So it was an incredible success. We're very grateful for that. Of course, our goal is to reach the Jewish people and to teach them the prophecies of the Bible so they'll know what to do. I mean, we're here in Jerusalem, and it's obvious after several days here that we're sitting right at the epicenter of prophetic fulfillment. For example, this article just showed up on the Internet this evening that the Temple Mount was discussed in the Israeli Knesset today, the sharing of the Temple Mount. Let me give you a few excerpts from this article. A Knesset debate on the implementation of equal Jewish prayer rights at Jerusalem's Temple Mount degenerated into a shouting match Monday as Arab Knesset members used threatening words and aggressive body language to disrupt the meeting. Chairwoman of the Committee of Interior, M.K. Miri Regev, appeared largely helpless in the face of an angry onslaught by radical Arab MKs who were eventually removed by orderlies after launching a string of angry invective toward Regev and another female minister of the Knesset. The point is, the sharing of the Temple Mount was debated in the Israeli Knesset today. Revelation chapter 11, verse 1 and 2, prophesies the sharing of the Temple Mount. Now, I want to make sure everybody catches their breath here. Revelation chapter 11, verse 1 and 2, John was told, measure the temple, do not measure the outer court of the temple, because it will be trodden down to Gentiles for 42 months. So he was to measure the temple because that would be under Israeli control, but he was not to measure the outer court because that would be under Muslim control or Gentile control. That's exactly what was proposed in the Israeli Knesset today, Monday, November the 4th. I'm reading the article about it right now. So when I see this happen, it's just stunning. We were on the Temple Mount just today, and as we were there, we were showing our group around. I looked up and I saw several Jewish people being conducted by Jewish police. When the Jews go up on the Temple Mount, they're always accompanied by police because many times the Arabs have thrown rocks at them or tried to hurt them in other ways, and so the police are always there. Plus, the police are there to make sure that the Jews don't pray. I mean, the police watch their mouths. And if they move their mouths in prayer, they arrest them and haul them off to court because they're not supposed to pray on the Temple Mount. Well, this bill that is in the Knesset today will change all that and will actually fulfill the prophecy given 2,000 years ago. So, I mean, I'm just sitting here almost in awe today because I've been teaching for a long, long time. The Temple Mount was going to be placed under a sharing arrangement. And today, November the 4th, the bill was brought up for debate on the Knesset floor. Of course, the Knesset is the Congress of the nation of Israel. The article went on to say, according to a proposed law tabled by M.K. Rabbi Eli Ben-Dahan, daily prayer hours would be set for Jewish groups visiting the Temple Mount, which is Judaism's holiest site. Despite its supreme significance to Jews throughout the world, Muslim pressure has resulted in a raft of discriminatory measures against Jewish visitors by Israeli police, including a total ban of Jewish religious activity there. Violators of the ban are arrested immediately and often stopped with a ban from ascending the mount altogether. The laws, if passed, would be a monumental upholding of Israel's official stance of religious freedom. While Israel officially liberated the Temple Mount from Arab occupation during the 1967 Six-Day War, the government controversially handed back control of the mount to the Islamic Waqf Foundation, which has been accused of implementing a campaign of Islamization to include the systematic destruction of Jewish artifacts aimed at erasing all traces of Jewish history at the site. During the stormy debate over the law, Regev explained the rationale behind it, saying that we cannot have a situation in which a state cannot realize its sovereignty and people can't pray at sites holy to them. Regev stressed further that we don't want to go into Al-Aqsa Mosque or prevent you Muslims from praying there, but want to enable Jews to pray on the compound as well. Another article tells us that MK is a halqa who is elected the Knesset. They have open democratic elections, and so they have several Arab members of the Israeli Knesset, one of them being this MK is a halqa. And during the debate, the halqa shouted out, "There is no Temple Mount." And so it's so interesting to see this hot debate going on today.